Today it's phrasal verbs with of. So let's start with let go of. Let go of is quite a good one, quite an easy one. If I let go of something, I just release it. So I drop my pen, I let go of my pen, and I have to pick it up again. Let go of just means to release in some kind of way. If somebody grabs you and you don't like it, you'll say, let go of me. Okay, become of. This sounds rather formal to me. You will read it in old-fashioned literature. Old literature, not old-fashioned literature. Classics and things like that. You might read the sentence, what has become of Mr. X? And it means, what has happened to Mr. X? You might say, what has become of my old friend Martin? And it means, what's happened to Martin? What's he doing nowadays? So we'll often say what has become of someone, and it means what has happened to them. Okay, we also have the phrase to come of. I think quite often people say no good will come of this. No good will come of this. And it means no good will result from this. This is not a good idea. No good will come of this. Nothing good will... There will be no good consequences here. All the consequences will be bad. So, come of, it means to result from. And I think it's very often used in those negative sentences. What will come of... well, no, we don't usually use it like that, but no good will come of this. That's the most obvious sentence which came to my mind when I first saw this one. Okay, to consist of, it means to be made up of, or to be composed of. So exactly the same as these two other of expressions. So you can say the class consisted of 3 girls and 5 boys. The class was made up of 3 girls and 5 boys, or the class was composed of 3 girls and 5 boys. Dispose of means the same as to get rid of, to throw away. So you dispose of your rubbish, and you can dispose of anything that you want to get rid of. These are harder to make of or think of, but if you understand the difference between think of and think about, because they are different, they're very different, then you will understand what make of means, because make of is exactly the same as think of. Now, when we're talking about opinions, maybe you've got a new pair of shoes and you want to ask one of your friends, what do you think of my new shoes? That means, do you think they're good or bad? We do not say, what do you think about my new shoes? That's not correct, because think about is the action of thinking. I'm thinking about going on holiday next year, or I'm thinking about having a haircut. Whatever it is you're thinking about, it's an active process in your mind. What do you think of something is what is your opinion. What do you think of the situation in, I don't know, in another country at the moment? Maybe you're talking about the news. What do you think of the situation in Switzerland? What's going on there? It means what is your opinion of the situation there? And in all of those examples, I could have said make of. What do you make of my new shoes? What do you make of the conflict in this country? Whatever it is. What do you think of the recent election result? What do you make of this political candidate? It always means opinion. It's a very easy phrasal verb to use because it's exactly the same as think of. Please use it as often as you can. Okay, to smack of, I think of it as similar to reek of and stink of. Reek of and stink of just means something really smells bad. Yeah, if someone reeks of cigarettes, they really stink of cigarettes. And I think smack of is quite similar, although it's not related to smell, but it kind of conjures up this idea. It's always negative, and you'll say something like this: his behaviour smacks of jealousy, or I don't know, the recent news in the papers smacks of conspiracy, or something like that. It would always be negative, and you mean that it appears to be this way. If his behaviour smacks of jealousy, you're saying that his behaviour shows that he's jealous. It stinks of jealousy. It reeks of jealousy. Metaphorically, we could use these two words as well, and then we mean metaphorically it reeks of jealousy. You could say the election result reeks of corruption, or something like that. You could certainly say it smacks of corruption. Yeah, these actions smack of corruption. Okay, to snap out of something is normally to snap out of a trance. If you're in a trance and you snap out of it, you wake up, you regain consciousness in some kind of way. And so we very often say this to someone if they have some kind of obsession, or they have some kind of singular way of thinking about something, and they can't get out of this obsessive way of thinking about something, and we'll say snap out of it. Yeah, so maybe a boy and girl have split up, and the boy is your friend, and he's still thinking about this girl. He can't get rid of the idea of her, and so you might say to your friend, snap out of it. Come on, you've got to move on with your life. You've got to snap out of this obsession with your ex-girlfriend. Okay? Talk someone out of something means to dissuade something. To dissuade someone, to persuade them not to do something. And talk someone into something is to persuade them to do something. And so I've done these two phrasal verbs recently. They should be pretty clear. If you have any questions, please put them under the video, but I think they're quite straightforward. If you wriggle out of a duty or task, it's exactly the same as get out of a duty or task. And it's when you don't want to do something, yeah? So maybe you have a meeting with the boss later and you want to wriggle out of it. You want to get out of it. You don't want to go to that meeting. It's a boring meeting. You don't feel like it's necessary or helpful for you in any kind of way. And so you try and wriggle out of it. You try and get out of it. But please remember that get out of is also used for cars. Yeah, and it's the opposite of get into. So you get out of the car, you get into the car. All other forms of transport, it's get on and get off. Okay, speak of. This is quite a literary phrasal verb. I think you see it quite often in literature. And it's used to mean demonstrate. So you could say his manners spoke of his upbringing, his fine upbringing. Yeah, he had very good manners. His good manners spoke of his fine upbringing. Okay, so his good manners demonstrated his fine upbringing. But you could say something else. You could say his large mansion spoke of his enormous wealth. Yeah, his large mansion demonstrated his enormous wealth. So speak of is quite a common one. Know of and hear of, I thought these were quite similar to speak of, but they both mean to be aware of. So again, if you know the difference between hear about and hear of, this will be easier. Because if I say, have you heard about David Cameron? That means, have you heard the news about David Cameron? Maybe something's happened to him, maybe he said something. Have you heard about Cameron? But if I say, have you heard of David Cameron, then it means, have you ever heard that name? Are you aware of this person? Or maybe you've never heard of him. I imagine there's quite a few people out there who have never heard of David Cameron. They do not know of David Cameron. So know of and hear of are identical. They would just be used in different tenses. Notice I used present perfect here. Have you heard of David Cameron? But here I'd use present simple. Do you know of David Cameron? Not sure why really, because the two sentences both sound equivalent to me. Okay, to grow out of, it's got two meanings really, because it could mean physically, literally, to grow out of something. So you could say there were plants and weeds growing out of the shed, meaning maybe the plants were coming out of the window, they were growing out of the shed, they were growing out of the roof maybe. But we also use this word for when people lose the habits and likes and dislikes from their childhood. You grow out of the behaviour of your childhood. So, of course, you like cartoons and sweets when you're little, but at some age you will grow out of them and start to enjoy other things. You'll become too mature for them. Okay, so to grow out of something, it means to become too old to do something. You're too mature to do something. Get rid of is exactly the same as do away with. We did do away with recently, so I thought I would remind you of that phrasal verb. And that's a lot, isn't it? So please, if you have any questions about these phrasal verbs, put them under the video. I'll be delighted to answer them, and I hope to see you all soon.